Hey everybody, this is Perch. This is one of those cases where I feel like the video that I'm making right here, if I don't put it up relatively quickly, it's going to age really, really fast because suddenly things are moving quickly. Now it's Friday, the weekend's here. As we know, nothing in comics happens on the weekend. Everybody takes a nice long nap, unless you're an artist and you're frantically trying to meet your deadline. Other than you guys. Uh, I'm joking, of course, but we will try and get this video out because I feel like this is one of those stories that is going to create a kind of a domino effect of a number of things going on. I've been talking about how there's this likely big change coming to the industry. We're overdue for it. The moment is here. This feels like a place where we're really going to get it in earnest. And the challenge is, uh, I think that it's going to hit artists, it's going to hit creators, and artists particularly, in an area where they had figured out a way to make this entire business work for them. Comics doesn't pay enough. I think if you have a calculator right now, there you can sit down, you can say, okay, let's say you're an artist, penciler. Let's say you've got a $200 page rate. Not a great page rate, but better than entry for a lot of people, and not as good as somebody who's really kind of made it. But if you do a 22-page comic, you're talking about $4,000 and change. And if you're talking about being able to do 12 issues in a year, and that is a stretch for a lot of people, both in terms of what you can crank out and, frankly, what the comic companies will give you, then you're still coming in at what, like around $50,000 or so, a little bit more than 50,000 at a $200 page rate. And that is not counting your taxes, and it's not counting your health insurance or any of that kind of stuff. You're not making a great living. And if $200 page rate, I know a lot of artists who do not get that. So if that is what you have, and you have no real job security, you are kind of at the mercy of the big two. You have to spend a lot of your time kind of sucking up, promoting yourself with editors who are inclined to hire their friends. That's just not a great living. So why does anybody do it? Well, one of the reasons they do it is because they can get commissions, they can sell original artwork. There's this kind of secondary market for their money. Cool, right? All very good. By the way, this is where we have to kind of explain what a reasonable living is. For me, and this is people are going to laugh on the surface of this hearing this. I know some creators who listen to the show will find what I'm about to say comical. But regardless, if you are working for Disney and you're drawing a comic that features one of the most recognizable IPs in the world, whether you're a writer or an artist, you should be making six figures, period, easily, before taxes after taxes and after insurance. Now, I know that is not how the market works. So please, you don't need to come in and, the usual suspects will come around and tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. But I know that's not how it works today, but that is how it should work. That is a reasonable expectation. I say this as somebody who, again, I have several friends, one of whom had I've told this story before. This has happened multiple times. I've hired somebody. I have a close friend. His daughter was just hired by Amazon right out of college. She is not yet old enough to drink. She got an AA degree, 2-year degree in art. Her starting salary is $112,000 plus benefits, plus bonus, plus stock. She's very happy. That is what she's making. That is not the case in comics. You do not make that money. But one of the ways that artists have been able to kind of make up the gap is that they sell original art, they sell commissions, and they can make money that way. With the advent of digital, this has put a little thorn in that plan because the original art market is suddenly has a problem. You can't sell original artwork if you're selling it, if you're doing it all digitally. Many of the publishers are pushing you to work digitally for a variety of reasons. And, this potentially takes money out of your pocket. NFTs are things that potentially can put money back in the artist's pocket. So good news, right? Well, not really. So both Marvel and DC are basically putting the kibosh on NFTs and stating that they want control over that. And it's not surprising why. They're doing this because in the past, both Marvel and DC, but especially Marvel and especially Disney, their parent, have been very protective over where the art goes. It's Spider-Man; they own Spider-Man, and this idea that some freelancers who are kind of on the outside can basically draw Spider-Man and sell Spider-Man for $1,000 and make some money out of it that Disney gets no piece of really irritates Disney. And this is not new, and it's happened for a long time. And I would imagine it's a little bit of the reason why the power dynamic at places like Marvel shifted from the artist to the writer. Why the writer has more control, why the writer is brought in a little bit closer, why they tend to highlight the writer, even though comics is an absolutely visual medium, and that really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Writers are great. Nothing against people who write comics, of course, they do great work. But I think, as was kind of proven by Todd McFarlane at various times, a badly written comic with amazing art is usually a stronger seller and more preferable than a really well written comic with terrible art. It's a visual medium. What do you expect? Not a big shock. So the challenge is, and I know firsthand, that Disney has really struggled with the idea of how these freelancers, these people who aren't even employees of the company, who they don't control, can go out there and draw pictures with their IP and collect money, and nobody does anything about it. Well, for a long time, there have been grumbling and there has been anger, and Disney at one point basically said, we're going to shut this practice down, and people like Joe Quesada and others said, no, you can't do that. If you do that, nobody will ever draw for us again. They're going to demand higher page rates. It's bad. If we get in the middle of this, it's bad. And there's some grumbling acceptance over this, but nobody is really happy. So now along comes NFTs and the ability to sell digital work for a premium and be able to create that secondary market. Well, Disney and AT&T both and others have already sold a lot of the digital rights to other companies. Third parties have access to a lot of these digital rights. And the question is coming up, wait a minute, I don't think an artist can do this. I don't think Patrick Gleason can go out and make an NFT and sells his pictures of Spider-Man. I don't think we should allow that to happen. And so a number of cease and desist letters went out, and the creators are cracking down on it. But here's the rumor, and where it appears to be going farther. It looks like at this point the big two are going to take a run at shutting down the commissions and the paper artwork as well. Now, by the way, you may be sitting there as an artist going, well, they can't do that. They absolutely can. And unfortunately, it's a really bad situation because legally it's unclear if it would hold up, if they would win or not in that case. But they can absolutely, with Disney lawyers and AT&T lawyers, they can bleed you dry to the point that you'll never get to the finish line of this thing. I mean, you could have a fight that's going to be long, it's going to be protracted. And frankly, if doing commissions and selling original art and all the rest of that stuff has been making up 50% of your take-home revenue, you're going to have a hard time surviving that fight without having a very steep challenge. And the weird part is I'm watching a lot of writers, people who are not artists, come out of the woodwork kind of in support of Marvel and DC in this case, saying, hey, NFTs are wrong. Why should artists get to do that? It's not fair. In some cases, I suspect this is bringing a lot of long-standing grudges between writers and artists back to the table, where writers who haven't been able to partake of this kind of secondary revenue stream are getting a little bit of revenge here. It feels like. Again, it's hard to tell the exact temperature of what's happening, but this is going to get ugly. It's ugly already, and it's about to get more ugly because as the big two crack down on NFTs, it feels, at least there's some indications that they're going to go ahead and fight the battle they've kind of been wanting to fight for 10 years or more, which is let's go after all outside work. Let's make sure any sketches or commissions or original art sales are approved by us, that we're going to get a cut of that, that we're going to be involved in that. And right now you've got Joe Quesada, got Jim Lee, both in charge of kind of the two companies. And both of these people should be sympathetic to artists' rights, and I'm sure that they are. But the momentum is certainly building for a bigger crackdown, and the crackdown is coming. This is going to be a very weird and very ugly war, because all the evidence people are going to bring up are, I mean, first of all, there's a lot of it. You're going to have fights over the environmental impact of NFTs. You're going to have who really owns this property and who gets to control it. You've got a bunch of, you've got some estates of people who are questioning, hey, why is DC able to make money off of kind of somebody who's passed? Darwin Cook. The estate of Darwin Cook is probably very frustrated that there's money being made out of all this. None of this ends well. Where this all does end is a massive change in the market, and I think that is absolutely inevitable at this point. We're going to get it. It's rapidly spiraling to that direction, and it is going to be a very, very turbulent ride for a period of time. It's going to be interesting to see where this goes. What I would watch very closely is who is being demonized as part of this process, because part of this battle that's going to take place is going to absolutely try and make some people the good guy and some people the bad guy, and it's going to be fascinating to see the alliances and the different elements that are drawn here. I don't know. This one has all the potential of really tearing some deep wounds in comics and the people involved in them, but we will see. What do you think is going to happen with all this? Let me know in the comments below. This is an evolving story. I think it's going to come very, very quickly. So let me know your thoughts. Like and subscribe, and thanks for listening.